qualification to round 2. This is the famous Sasol Rally. The 2012 event is the 21st edition of the rally with backing from South African fuel and oil's giant Sasol. And as always, Sasol has once again pulled out all the stops to not only ensure an epic battle for the drivers, but to also provide a memorable spectacle for the thousands of spectators who undertake the yearly pilgrimage to Rally Heaven. The forests around the Mpumalanga towns of Sabi, Graskop and Hendriksdal are normally peaceful. But over the next 2 days, the roads inside the York Timbers plantations will pay host to another challenging test for both man and machine. Following his dominant performance at the Total Rally, Marc Cronje will start the Sasol Rally as favourite, but he will have to face the added pressure of driving a Sasol car on his sponsor's event.
Oh, there always is one. Obviously having a home event and Sasol putting in the effort they have, they've done a tremendous job. So yeah, the pressure's there, but at the end of the day, it's going to happen sooner or later, so we've got to make the best of it.
Johnny Gemmell has won the Sasol on more than one occasion, so the Castrol Toyota driver knows what it takes to be victorious on these tricky roads.
Now, I've won this a few times, had some good results. Now, we did some testing yesterday in the area, car feels good, so we'll be giving it a go.
Charles Wilkin is currently third in the championship fight and will therefore hope for a good points haul here in Mpumalanga.
Sasol is one of the toughest rally in the championship, so hopefully get through this one with a good result.
Basil Reed teammate Jan Habig's fourth place Natal was a good first outing behind the left-hand drive wheel of his new Fiesta, and he's won the Sasol on no less than 6 occasions.
It's been a good couple of years. The car's very good. We're enjoying it. We sort of clicked with it quite well.
Enzo Kuhn is 5th in the title race, but has won the Sasol before and knows these roads well. Dutch driver Hans Weiss is currently 6th in the championship, but will have to face these forest roads for the first time in his career.
We would see what we can do here. We have done a good recce and we did a lot of work on the car.
Team Total's Jean-Pierre Damso is another driver with loads of experience and currently lies 7th in the championship. Damso's Team Total teammate, Mohamed Musa, is also getting up to speed quickly and will hope for another good result. John Williams will want nothing more than to give sponsor Sasol a good showing on their own event.
No, we'd love to do that. I think we've been dreaming about getting on the podium for a week before this event, so yeah, obviously the pressure's on.
After retiring from the Total Rally, Volkswagen's multiple champion Adrian Flecken has it all to do.
We need to get good results, consistent results, but we also want to push.
Following the fire that consumed his car in Natal, Glenn Hall and his dedicated team at Toyota Motorsport managed to put together a sort of brand new Castrol Toyota Auris for Leroy Poulter, winner of the Sasol in 2011.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, I can't thank them enough. The guys have done an excellent job. The car is perfect, and let's see.
The festive atmosphere in Sabi is about to turn serious. It's the ceremonial start of the Sasol, and Marc Cronje heads off to stage 1. From the safety of Sabi, it's off to stages 1 and 2. Like all the other gravel stages in these plantations, they leave drivers with no room for error, as the slightest mistake will result in a puncture or worse.
This is it, the moment of truth for Sasol Ford's Marc Cronje and Robin Houghton. First on the road is never the ideal position, but Cronje was happy to survive the first 29 kilometers of the Sasol.
Very slippery, but unfortunately that's part of the game, so let's see where we end up.
This is the first stage for the newly built Castrol Toyota of Leroy Poulter and Alvin Coetzee. And although they were 21 seconds slower than Cronje, Poulter wasn't too unhappy.
Getting to know the car and everything, so no problem with the car.
Cronje's time of 18 minutes and 34.7 seconds was the benchmark. But Johnny Gemmell and Catalin Swan crossed the flying finish in a time of 18 minutes and 34.6 seconds. The Castrol Toyota takes the early rally lead by a mere 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, it was okay. It was quite a nice stage.
Worried faces at the end of stage 1 indicated that something was amiss. The BP Volkswagen Polo of Hergen Fecken and Pierre Arries was late. After what felt like ages, it finally emerged from the forest, but more than 2 minutes were lost.
Yeah, there was a corner about 5 k's in, and the guys took a very rough rock into the road, and I just couldn't miss it. I missed it with the front wheel, but the back wheel stopped it.
Charles Wilkin and Greg Godrich were supposed to be the next car to reach the finish of stage 1, but instead it was the second of the Basil Reed Fiestas driven by Jan Habig and Robert Paisley who crossed the flying finish. Wilkin was missing.
I saw a shot. I don't know if he's changing a wheel or what he was doing.
The BP Volkswagen Polo of Enzo Keane and Guy Hodgson was the next car into stage 1. Keane also passed the stricken Ford of Wilkin on the side of the road, but soon the former champion and winner of the Sasol had his own problems to worry about.
We've got a major problem with the engine, it's just cutting. So after we come off the throttle, go back, it's dead. So we'll have to wait another stage before they can work on that.
Next up, the SAC trucks Peugeot of Hein Latergan and Johan van der Merwe. Latergan is a very fast driver, but after crashing out on round 1, he opted to ease into the swing of things here on the Sasol. John Williams and Kobus Frey are behind the wheel of the second Sasol Ford Fiesta, so the young Cape Townian had every intention to do well on his sponsor's event. But ahead of him, the stricken Basil Reed Fiesta of Charles Wilkin was repaired and back on the stage. Wilkin had lost a massive 8 minutes and made his way to the finish, not knowing that Williams was stuck in his dust. The latter was a little upset.
No, you had to ride in his dust for about the whole stage. He doesn't pull out the way. Oh, it's frustrating, man. You know, if you got a problem, then just move over.
Yeah, we had a front function, we had to stop, and it was a slow change, and the stage was very rocky, so I couldn't afford to push. You know, we could have get another function. So.
The total Toyota of JP Damso and Grant Martin was the next car on the road, but his time of 19 minutes and 25 seconds was a full 50 seconds off the pace. The Cape Townian wasn't happy.
Yeah, not a good stage, eh?
This is only Hans Weiss and Bjorn de Gant's second taste of South African soil, and although the young Dutchman experienced the same down-on-power engine problems as his BP Polo teammate Keane, he set the third fastest time of all.
It's quite okay, but we have some engine problems. When I go off the throttle and I go again, the car stops and it has a dip. It's not going fast up. We're going flat, and it was the best we can do. So.
Jaapie van Niekerk and Gerard Snyman were non-finishers in Natal just a month ago, but the new Africa Development's Volkswagen Polo had an impressive start to the Sasol by setting the 7th fastest time. Gugu Zulu and Carl Peskin are driving an older generation BP Polo, so a time of 19 minutes and 24 seconds on stage 1 not only handed them the early challenge class lead, but also a spot in the overall top 10. Mohamed Musa and Andre Vermeulen started the Sasol with loads of determination. The team total driver is improving with every event.
Into square left 9. Now at it.
They got the car back on its wheels, but not quite the start to the Sasol that Musa wanted.
After the carnage that was stage 1, the drivers were wary of stage 2, not the place to take any risks.
Mark Cornier and Robin Houghton started stage 2 just 1/10 of a second off the rally lead. The Sasol Fiesta crosses the flying finish in a time of 15 minutes and 33.2 seconds, but we'll have to wait for Johnny Gemmell to finish the stage to see if it is fast enough.
And right 6 to stop. Well driven.
The second car on the road is the Castrol Toyota Auris of Leroy Poulter and Alvin Coetzee. Poulter won the Sasol in 2011, but opted to not take any risks this early on. His time was good enough for 5th fastest on the stage. The Castrol Toyota Auris of Johnny Gemmell and Callan Swan is the 3rd car on the road, so when Gemmell crossed the line a full 8 seconds slower than his rival Cornier, he knew he had just lost the lead.
Now he had a few moments there, otherwise it was okay.
Ergen Ficken and Pierre Arries already lost more than 2 minutes on stage 1 following a puncture, of which the consequences also affected their performance on stage 2.
Yeah, well, I think we damaged the wheels on the previous one when we were driving on 3 wheels, so the tires were not good, but we'll see.
It was clear that Charles Wilken and Greg Godrich were not going to have a good rally here at the Sasol. The Basil Reed Fiesta already lost more than 8 minutes in stage 1, and without a spare wheel, Wilken did not have the confidence to take any more risks. Inside the second Basil Reed Fiesta, things were going slightly better for Jan Habig and Robert Paisley, although the 6 times former winner of the Sasol was also not quite happy about his tires.
We decided to go with the 195s, and but halfway through the stage we were really finished.
There was no chance for the Volkswagen service crew to attend to the engine problem underneath the bonnet of the BP Volkswagen Polo of Enzo Keen and Guy Hodgson. So the 4th fastest stage time on stage 2 was a good result for Enzo Keen. Hein Lategan and Johan van der Merwe set the 11th fastest time behind the wheel of the SAC Trucks Persia. John Williams and Kobus Frey lost time in the dust during stage 1. The Sasol Fiesta driver was eager to make up some of it on stage 2, but a puncture didn't help his cause at all. A frustrating start for the young Cape Townian.
It's been very frustrating, but we're hanging there. It's our home rally. We've got to. But yeah, not happy here.
The 3rd fastest stage time on stage 1 was an impressive start for the Dutch-speaking duo of Hans Weiss and Bjorn de Gant, but their stage time on stage 2 was even better. The BP Polo set the 2nd fastest time of all, just 6 seconds slower than the fastest time set by Cronje. The 3 BP Polos might have all struggled with engine mapping problems, but the new Africa Developments version of Japie van Niekerk and Gerard Snyman had no such trouble. 7th overall after 2 stages was a great start for van Niekerk. It was just an impressive start for the older BP Polo Vivo of Gugu Zulu and Carl Peskin. On stage 1, Zulu set the 9th fastest time. On stage 2, he went 3 better to cement his place in the overall top 10.
Johnny Gemmell took the overall lead by a mere 1/10 of a second over arch-rival Marc Cronje on stage 1. But it was short-lived, as Cronje turned a 1/10 of a second deficit into an 8.1 second lead after stage 2. The name of Weiss is a welcome addition to the leaderboard, ahead of Poulter, Kuhn and Habig. After 2 rough and demanding stages, it was time for a well-earned breather for the drivers and their cars in the Sabi service car. Well, for most anyway. Over at the team total car of Mohamed Musa, it was time for a few frantic repairs.
I think the first corner of the rally we were a little bit ambitious. So one spectator said we went over 3 times, and the spectators were there and they pushed it back on the wheels. He also got the wheels facing forward, and the guy was yeah, they're fine. We stopped the car, put in first, and there we go. So
Dutchman Hans Weiss is running 3rd on his first ever Sasol, despite the lack of some engine power.
we have some engine problems, and we can solve the problem. We can be much faster.
At the top of the leaderboard, it was pretty much the same situation as a month before, with Johnny Gemmell chasing after Marc Cronje. So, can he catch his rival this time round?
Of course, it's only 8 seconds.
And over at the Sasol camp, a perfect start for Marc Cronje on his sponsor's own rally.
Yeah, look, it's still a long way to go, but the momentum's there and the car really feels good.
The first 50 kilometers of the Sasol Rally already eliminated a number of front runners. So, will the next 50 kilometers do the same? Find out after the break. One of the fearsome Sasol Rally, and already the Sasol has lived up to its reputation as a car breaker. A number of front runners were already forced to concede, courtesy of punctures. While at the top, the battle between Marc Cronje and Johnny Gemmell rages on.
With one stage victory apiece and only 8 seconds between them, the battle between Cronje and Johnny Gemmell was now turning into an epic one. Cronje was still first on the road, so after finishing each stage, the Sasol 4 driver had no idea if his pace was quick enough to stay ahead of the chasing Gemmell. All he could do was put his head down and drive. A time of 18 minutes and 26 seconds on stage 3 was a full 8 seconds faster than his time from earlier on the day. And on stage 4, he also bettered his time on the repeat stage, again by 8 seconds.
70, narrow right 16 into hairpin left. Narrow right 16 into hairpin left. Hairpin left.
It was a reasonable time for us, but it's not over the top yet.
With Cronje laying down the gauntlet, Johnny Gemmell and Caroline Swan knew exactly what they had to do. The score so far was 1 stage win each, but on stage 3, Gemmell made it 2-1 by beating Cronje's time by 2.6 seconds. The latter's lead was now just 5.5 seconds, but on stage 4, Gemmell's time was a full 7 seconds slower. The score as far as stage wins is concerned was now 2-all, but the Castrol Toyota was now 13 seconds behind his rival. Leroy Poulter and Alvin Kutsia were still finding their feet in the newly built Castrol Toyota Auris. But on stage 3, the 2011 winner of the Sasol Rally joined the list of drivers who got punctures on these unforgiving roads.
We got a left front puncture there. We try to drive it as long as we can, but it's just a bit of bad luck.
Poulter lost nearly 4 minutes, and although he bounced back with the 4th fastest stage time on stage 4, all chances of repeating his victory from 2011 were lost. Ergen Fekken and Pierre Aries were already removed from the equation courtesy of their earlier puncture trouble. To further rub salt into the wounds, they lost a little more time in Poulter's dust.
Yeah, we were battling for the last 10Ks, so unfortunately, because we were having a good stage.
The BP Polo completed the day's stages in 10th position overall, but a deficit of nearly 4 minutes will be too much, even for the former champions. Charles Wilkin and Greg Godrich were still 5th on the road, but the Basil Reed Fiesta was already 10 minutes behind the leaders. Wilkin's aim was now to simply finish the event without causing any further damage to the Fiesta. Inside the second Basil Reed Ford Fiesta of teammates Jan Habig and Robert Paisley, it was going much better. Habig had the chance to change to wider tyres during service, and the extra grip clearly helped as he set the 4th and 3rd fastest times on these 2 stages to move from 6th to 4th on the overall leaderboard. A number of top drivers had already fell victim to the puncture curse, and the list was about to grow. Enzo Keane and Guy Hodgson were supposed to be the next ones to reach the end of stage 3, but instead it was the Sasol Fiesta of John Williams and Kobus Frey.
I saw Enzo, he had a puncture, he stopped to change it, yeah.
No, we had a puncture and it took a long time to change it, so we lost a lot of time.
Keane and Hodgson lost nearly 6 minutes, and like so many other top drivers before him, the former champion was also forced to concede defeat.
No, we struggled. We spun on the last corner as well. We got no power steering, so very difficult to drive.
There is truth in the old saying about one man's pain. With the names of both Keane and Poulter tumbling down the leaderboard, Sasol's John Williams and Kobus Frey gained a few spots and moved into 5th position overall, in spite of their earlier setbacks. Hein Latergan and Johan van der Merwe were still holding on to 8th position overall, but their rally ended prematurely when the SAC Trucks Peugeot 207 called it a day in stage 4.
I'm not sure what happened, but the main subframe at the rear, the bolts came out during the stage. So about 6-7 k's from the end, the whole rear end just collapsed.
The impressive run of Hans Weiss and Bjorn de Gant continued on stages 3 and 4. The Dutchman's time on stage 3 was 12 seconds slower than the winning time, and although his time on stage 4 was only 5th fastest, the BP Polo was now firmly in 3rd position overall, and even more importantly, still in one piece. After missing most of last year, Jaapie van Niekerk has only completed around 50 kilometers in recent months. Setting top 10 stage times in a field as competitive as this one was an excellent and consistent performance. The new Africa Developments Volkswagen Polo completed the day's gravel stages in 6th position. The 6th fastest time on stage 3 was a good one for JP Damso and Grant Martin, and that in spite of having a problem underneath the bonnet of the Team Total Toyota Auris.
Had a good run there, very good run, and then halfway through picked up a misfire, so I don't know what that is, so I must have a look what that is.
Misfire or not, Damso is as tough as they come and completed the day's gravel action in 7th. Gugu Zulu and Carl Peskin had enjoyed a torrent time of late, but here on the Sasol, things were coming together for the talented driver. The BP Polo continued its clean and fast run to occupy a very good 8th on the overall leaderboard. The drive of the day, however, belonged to 17-year-old Henk Latergan and co-driver Barry White. Henk is the son of Hein Latergan, so talent and driving skill is clearly in abundance in this family. The youngsters set the 5th fastest time of all to rocket the Q8 Oils Polo straight into 9th position overall.
After more than 100 kilometers of flat-out gravel racing, Marc Cronje remains in the lead by 13.2 seconds over arch rival Johnny Gemmell. Hans Weiss impresses in 3rd, ahead of a steady Jan Habib, who moves up 2 positions into 4th. John Williams is also moving up the leaderboard. Gugu Zulu currently leads the battle for S2000 Challenge honours, 11 seconds ahead of young Henk Latergan. Speaking of the S2000 Challenge class, in an effort to allow smaller privateer teams to also taste the fast pace of top-flight Super 2000 rallying, the organisers have decided to create a class for previous generation S2000 rally cars. To further curb the high costs of the rallying, S2000 Challenge drivers will only be allowed to use 12 tyres per event, instead of the 20 that the normal S2000 cars can use. Gugu Zulu was not only leading the challenge class, but also well inside the top 10.
Things are working out, it's looking really good, I'm starting to enjoy it. We're lying 8th overall at some stage, so yeah, it's a good start to the Sasol Rally.
Zulu will however have his work cut out over the remainder of the event, as youngster Henk Latergan is finding his feet behind the wheel of his Q8 Oils Volkswagen Polo. The youngster is currently just 11 seconds behind Zulu. Werner Kukemoer and former rally driver turned navigator Etienne Lawrence returned to rallying for the first time in many years behind the wheel of the Blanchura Toyota. It was Kukemoer's first outing in an S2000. He took it easy while getting used to the fast pace of rallying. 3rd in the challenge class was therefore a good way to end day 1. The Sasol Rally was also round 2 of the FIA African Rally Championship. The Zambian and Zimbabwean combination of Mohamed Essa and Greg Stead were ahead of the similar Subaru Impreza of Rwandan's Giancarlo De Vite and Sylvia Vindervogel. Behind the faster S2000 and S2000 Challenge cars, a number of South Africa's best up-and-coming drivers were fighting for Super 1600 glory. The Sasol was only the 2nd outing behind the wheel of the SA Earthworks Ford Fiesta of Nick van der Westhuizen and experienced co-driver Henry Deerlove. Van der Westhuizen did well to avoid all the obstacles and completed the day 3rd in class. The Yanto Tools Toyota of former circuit racer Guy Bottrell and co-driver Simon Vasey-Lyle was consistent and fast all day, while Bottrell continues to impress in a sport which he only took up a few years ago. They ended the day 2nd in the class. But the honours of going to bed on day 1 as Super 1600 leaders belong to young Capetonian Ashley Haig-Smith and new British co-driver Craig Parry. The Castrol Fiesta driver had a stint in the World Rally Championship Academy recently, and the experience showed as he dominated Super 1600 proceedings with a comfortable lead of more than 2 minutes.
We had a great rally so far. Been keeping neat and tidy, that was our goal. Got a new navigator, so he's never new notes, and he's really well experienced, so he's teaching me a hell of a lot.
While a huge crowd was starting to line the streets of Sabi in anticipation of the spectacle that lay ahead, competitors had the chance to take a breather in the Sabi service park and took the time to reflect on the first 110 kilometers of the Sasol. Jaapie van Niekerk was mixing it up with the factory drivers and had much to smile about.
This VW Polo is a magnificent car. It's unbelievable. The handling is great.
Charles Wilken, on the other hand, had very little to smile about, but there were a few tarmac stages still ahead, a place where he normally makes up time.
No, no, it's too short, and we're just going to pick up the scraps. So.
In a race as close as this one, 13 seconds is far from a comfortable lead. So can Marc Cronje hold on to his slender advantage?
We've done our homework, that's all I can say, and I'm very confident in the car.
And is there anything Johnny Gemmell can do in his efforts to chase Cronje down?
I think so. A long day tomorrow. Still 100 k's or so and 5 stages. We'll give it a go.
Gravel racing for the day was a thing of the past, but the Sasol Rally is all about the spectacle. The traditional Sabi town stage is a favourite for the large crowds and an opportunity for them to get up close and personal with their heroes. It's also an opportunity for one of the many sidewalks and pavements to have another go at a rally car's wheels and suspension.
The Sabi town stage is less than 1 kilometer in distance, so it is impossible to win the event on a stage like this one. But it's very possible to throw it all away. John Williams did not throw it away and set the fastest time in his Sasol Fiesta, much to the delight of the large crowd. Times are always close on such a short stage. Johnny Gemmell set the second fastest time in the Castrol Toyota, but he was more concerned about the time set by Marc Cronje. The difference between the two leaders was 13.2 seconds. Gemmell's time was 1 minute and 12 seconds, but Cronje is going somewhat slower and crosses the flying finish in a time of 1 minute and 15.1 seconds. Gemmell just narrowed the gap by 2.4 seconds. Jan Habig sets another top 3 stage time in the Basil Reed Fiesta ahead of the New Africa Developments Polo of Jaapie van Niekerk and the BP Polo of Hergen Fekken. But the times between all the top drivers are too close to have a real impact on the leaderboard. The scene in White River for stage 7 of the Sasol is very similar to the one in Sabi, with thousands of spectators lining the streets of the Mpumalanga town. Again, there isn't much to gain, but lots to lose. Jaapie van Niekerk continued his good form to claim his first stage win behind the wheel of the New Africa Developments Polo, just 0.3 of a second ahead of the charging John Williams and his Sasol Fiesta.
140.
And what about the battle between Marc Cronje and Johnny Gemmell?
Long left 5, Titans, turn left 9, turn left 9, into hairpin
The
right,
rally leaders clearly had a problem.
Hairpin right, Titans narrow, 120. Okay, that's fine. Okay, we're 2 k's to go, we're done.
It's the start of day 2 of the Sasol Rally.